Well, hello everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm talking to Alexander Peat, head frontman, strongman of the Raw Milk Conspiracy. Thank you very much, Alexander, for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me, Jim.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure entirely. So, the Kundalini spirit.
Well, you put me on the spot there.
A little bit. I'm not trying to, no, but we were talking about the New Age. You don't want to talk about it?
Well, I think the reason it wasn't necessarily reluctance. It was just, I think it means different things to different people. So.
Yeah, but right. So this is where we need to be careful. So,
what do you take?
Do you believe a word, for instance? Just keep it basic. Do you believe a word has a definition? A definitive definition.
Yes, typically yes.
Typically,
yes, I do. Yes.
Yes. Right. So with that same logic and that same sentiment, that same way of an analysis, is it not fair to say that if it means one thing to one person and one thing to someone else, one of them people are wrong? Because it means, generally speaking, it means something.
Yeah. What does the New Age mean to you?
To me, I thought you'd never ask, Alex. To me, I believe it is all rooted in esoteric occultism from Far East religions that has been brought to the West by Freemasonic figures and madams like Helena Blavatsky, for instance, and her religion of Theosophy. I believe that it's all about harnessing energy. I don't think or believe that it is good energy. I believe we're taught as Christians about the good that comes from abstinence and from fasting. I believe these sorts of ideas and concepts are helpful. So, what I'm trying to say is, right, because I don't want to sound like I'm making out I'm holier than thou, because I'm not, right? That's the point in being a Christian and understanding that we are fallible and we have to repent, right? What was the question? You asked me how I felt about the New Age, what it means to me.
Yeah, I mean, because I've read very sort of different opinions and people have different attitudes towards that phrase. So I wondered what it meant to you.
Right.
But you've.
I think it's all sexual. Well, not all of it, but I think a lot of it's sexual.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to get back. That's what I was trying to tie up with the abstinence and the fasting, because rather than, I think it's a progression. It's a natural progression from the 60s, from the summer of love, from everyone just being free to do what they want in their hedonistic worldview. I feel like the New Age movement is a natural progression along from that. And I don't think it's healthy. I've seen numerous women that get involved with this sort of thing, and they're not happy, healthy people. They're neurotic, mental fruitcakes, getting stones and crystals, doing tarot cards, doing yoga, calling for serpent energy to enter them, and all this sort of stuff. I ultimately believe that that's a bad thing to be doing, especially when you're feeble at the time you're trying to do all that sort of stuff, which I find, generally speaking, that when these women get lured into all this sort of stuff, they are in a position of vulnerability.
When do they normally get lured into it? So
when they're all frantic, they've had a couple of kids and
after pregnancy. normally, when they're vulnerable.
When they're vulnerable, just say, for instance, that they've broken up with a boyfriend, their cat's died, their mum's died, their nan's died, someone's died. Bereavement, probably, I reckon, in a time of bereavement. They've lost their job. Yeah, just any sort of unforeseen circumstances that's going to put them on a, like, their world's not doing too great. That's the sort of situation where I find that these people get called onto this sort of stuff, or it calls to them, and they find it. And then as a result of it, they let in all sorts of lodgers. And when I say lodgers, I mean demons. Yeah. All sorts of spirits. Let's not call them demons because it scares people. Say spirits that you're not completely privy to what they get up to and what they're all about.
I just take you backstage. You were mentioning yoga in that list of stuff. And that I thought was a positive thing, but generally for sort of body energy or sort of refocusing things, alignment.
How much have you done?
Well, funny, I haven't, but there's a place down the road from me, but they gave me a booklet and I read through it, and it's all about, and I see them doing it.
What was the book about?
There are different strands of yoga, aren't there? The different types, and this was one of I can't remember which type it was, but there are different types of. So he's just informing me. Because someone was recommending it to me, Pilates and yoga, and so it's just
so if someone's shilling you something, if someone's shilling you like a concept, do you think they're going to go through the ins and outs of a duck's arse, or do you think they're just going to show you what is all nicey, looks lovely jubbly, and get you into their cult?
Well, yeah, but I'd never heard that association with yoga. It's like.
Where does yoga come from? Where does it come from?
I always heard of it like something like running or something like that. It can only be helpful. But I hadn't heard the other side of it. So when you gave it in that list, I was of negative things.
Do they meditate whilst they're doing yoga? Is it the same thing or is it different?
I just see them doing the sort of, they do positions and they do stretching. I didn't see them in meditation, but they have one room where they do this stuff, and then the next room is where they have a room of reflection, and then they have they drink tea.
Reflection?
Well, they have sort of, I don't know whether that's a meditation room and that's a yoga room. They have two rooms in this place, and then they have a garden. So they drink, I don't know, jasmine tea and things like that. They drink a cup of tea and that type of thing. So there's one room with all the mats on it, and then there's another room which is just a social room. In
both rooms, there's a room to orgy in the evenings, or
who knows?
Well, you get to find out if you go a few times, Alex. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, no, I just hadn't heard it in that list before. I hadn't heard it in
yoga. You feel like yogas shouldn't be.
No,
on the
but
list.
I mean, I didn't hear it in that. I've never heard. But yeah,
I just need to know what it is. What is it? So when you're doing these stretches, you're doing these positions. What? Let's think about it logically. What are they doing?
Well, I haven't done it. I've just seen them doing it.
You've seen the women doing it.
Because they
bend over backwards.
They don't put the. They've got these blinds. They don't put them down. So there's natural light and all that stuff. They don't use the electric light, so it's just coming in. And they try. So I see them doing it.
Have you seen the women bending over backwards?
I've seen them in. They do
funny positions.
Funny, like extreme positions.
Legs behind their ears.
Yeah.
Like a crab.
Yeah, they do different levels, but the advanced ones, they put themselves in almost.
When watching that, as a man, as a human male, when watching that, when watching women performing these moves, these what do you call them? Stances, these yoga positions. As a human being, do you think there's anything at all sexual in that?
I didn't really see that. I just thought
didn't see anything sexual in that. I must just be a pervert then, because I tell you what, when I see a woman bent over with her legs behind her ears like that, that only makes me think of one thing. It's definitely more sexual than people understand, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm not that. Like I say, I'm not that familiar with it. I just there used to be a woman next to me who was teaching the other sort of fashionable thing, which is Pilates. I don't really know. I've just seen someone doing a few bits and pieces.
Is that not yoga as well? Pilates.
No, it's a different one. But
different thing?
It's all about. I talked to someone about it as well, but someone I know teaches it, and they were telling me about person who lived next door to me used to teach it, and
so you really didn't want to offend your New Age friends then?
No, they were saying about, but I was asking them what it's all about, and they were saying, I think they were saying it's about
incubus and succubus, mate.
Like body realignment, posture, all that type of stuff. But they do strike some strange poses.
Strange? Sexually provocative?
But it's different. You sort of work up to that, but...
You work up to that. Because they don't want to scare away the newbie straight away. That's why you have to work up to it. Because they don't want you to know it's a sex cult as you join.
But are they having orgies in that?
Have you been to any meetings?
I don't think they're having orgies.
You don't think they're having orgies? Not even at the Christmas do?
Wow.
What about Freemasons?
Well,
do you believe they smack bare ass with paddles?
In their ceremony?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what their physical things they do in the ceremonies. But my father's a Freemason. He's been a Mason for.
Sorry, say that again.
My father's a Mason. He's been a Mason for 45 years.
Amazing. Here we go.
Yeah. And he's. But I used to tease.
Does your dad smack ass with paddles?
I very much doubt it. Yeah.
You doubt it?
I doubt it.
It's a question to ask him.
But he does carry. I used to just test him on his ritual, but I didn't know what it meant. It was just like learning lines. It was like a play. These are like plays.
About Harim Abif.
But no, it's just not the play.
It's about the man who built Solomon's temple. But it's about him getting murdered and keeping the craft a secret.
Well, I didn't know that, but they have a. I've watched a lot of documentaries on it. It doesn't reveal anything. The documentaries are always.
They're a secret society.
But you can go into the Grand Lodge in Holborn, and
yes.
That's the only one you can go into. You can go to the Grand Hall. You can go to, but. The when I tested him, it didn't mean anything. It was just it was a
secret.
It was a play, and they when they're initiating somebody or something like this.
Was that for the third degree or the second?
Yeah, they have different. They have different when you're. They have something when you're initiating someone originally, and then you have it different when they go up the levels. You have different. They have different ceremonies.
So, how much of a wizard's your dad then?
I don't know what rank he is now. I don't
know.
I don't know what level he is now. But I think he's been a Mason from. He's in his 70s now, and he's
still paying his fees.
And he was a Mason from I think he was about 30 or 20, 28, 29. So it's 40 odd years.
So he's still paying his fees then.
What, to the lodges? Yeah, he's still a member. Yeah, still a member of a few lodges.
A few lodges.
Yeah.
Didn't know it was like that.
I think you can be a member of a few. I'm not sure how it works, but
I
think you have one central one, and then you get.
So not only are you not willing to offend the New Age hippies, you're not willing to offend the Freemasons either.
No, but I can't speak about something I don't.
Your father is one.
Yeah, but that's not the reason I'm not saying. No, I'm saying I read the text to test him on it. It didn't mean anything to me. It was just like a play. It's just like
about a man getting murdered and keeping the secrets.
And the documentaries I've seen on Freemasonry have been about craftsmen, sort of.
Been about Kabbalah. What do you feel like? What do you feel like? There's so much Hebrew letters being used around the Freemasons. Why do you think they've adopted the Hebrew letters?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know.
Well, I believe Freemasonry and the New Age are linked. I believe the hedonism of the New Age and do as thou wilt of Freemasonry or occultist beliefs from things like Morals and Dogma, Aleister Crowley, who's supposed to be 33rd degree Freemason, whatever. I believe they're one and the same. Do as thou wilt, and the hedonistic belief of carry on, make yourself happy. Life is to the main reason in life is to achieve happiness.
Have you been to a Freemasons?
I went
hall?
to the Holborn one, didn't I? I went to the Grand Lodge.
Yeah.
I've got a video of going to the Grand Lodge.
But
You know me, Alex.
Have you been to a induction ceremony undercover?
What do you think?
Well,
What do you think? I've been some drag queens undercover and that to do some videos, but never to a Mason Lodge. No.
But there are things which are silly, which are not necessarily sinister. There are things where
like the red rooms, for instance.
I mean, someone rolling.
But you know the red rooms, though, didn't you? We're talking as we're in that end of town, as we're talking about Holborn and that area there. We're going to talk about the red rooms that's down the road from the lodge. Do you know about this red rooms?
No, I don't know.
No?
No.
Fascinating.
No.
Absolutely fascinating. We should look into that because that will really interest you. But I'm not as well read on that whole stuff as Brian Harvey is.
Right.
So I'll leave you to go and look him up talking about the red rooms.
Well, there's a great talk by the guy, I forget his name, outside the Bank of England. That guy, he gave a fascinating insight into... There's too much to take in. I couldn't take it all in. It was so much. It was so revealing.
About what?
Sort of happenings behind closed doors in the City of London and protected by the City of London Authority. The City of London Police, all protected by...
Are you referring to...
He was revealing many different things.
The City of London is actually international. It's not part of the UK.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff.
He was revealing a great deal of...
about Admiralty law.
That was one of the points.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I think he was from the north of England, but he was a great speaker, and it was the same day that Chris Sky spoke outside the Bank of England.
That day.
It was a fantastic... it was just full of information. There was so much to take in, and they were... he was revealing so much stuff about sinister... operations happening in the very, very secret and protected in the City of London. Various things, lots of different things happening. Right. But I can't... But...
Do you know what a caduceus is?
A caduceus? No, I don't know.
So, you see... You remember phone boxes? No, that's the wrong thing. But they do have the snake going around the
red ones?
Yeah, no, not them ones. I meant the other ones. They didn't have any sort of signage. So, not phone boxes. Ambulances, ambulance services and things like this. Mm-hmm. The snake that goes round the scepter.
Right.
Do you know the image I'm talking about? Like there's a stick and it has a snake going around it, and generally it's used on medical sorts of things.
I'm not sure.
Let me get a picture up for you.
I recognise it if you showed it to me.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, Alex, behave yourself, man.
No.
Well, that I would suggest, is some sort of esoteric Kundalini spirit that is supposed to be Apollo's scepter, I believe. I'm a bit crusty in all this stuff, but it's about the New Age. It's about Theosophy. It's about Freemasonry. It's about occult, hidden, secret societies. And it's in everyone's face, and they don't even realise it. Like, have you not seen that before? Do you not know where you've seen that before?
I don't think I have, no.
You have never seen that
I don't
before?
think so, no. That's on an ambulance, is it? That's in the on the front of the or somewhere on the ambulance. I don't think I've seen that, no. Oh, it's in the thing. Oh, right, yeah. Okay, it's in the centre of the thing, yeah. That's it.
Yeah, and it's not just ambulances, it's all...
It's in the crest. They're using it in the crest. Yeah.
Look, City of London Ambulance Service, it's got 3 of them.
Yeah, it's in the crest.
Yeah.
It's in the...
Yeah. So it's everywhere. The New Age is everywhere, mate. And what is the New Age? The New Age of what? Because there are all these people, all these sort of esoteric occultists.
The New Age of thinking, perhaps that's what they want people to think in a different way.
Is it not Aquarius? Have we just not come out of Aquarius? What one have we just come out of and we just gone into?
I don't know.
Not big on all that sort of stuff either.
What, you mean signs?
Astrology.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
No.
We're just coming out of...
What about numerology? Chaldean numerology? Gematria?
Geometrics, numerology.
Yeah. Any of that sort of stuff interests? Yeah.
I thought you were going to ask me what my favourite colour was. That was
no, because I've got interesting questions.
Numerology,
mate.
I don't know. I went on a talking about the going back one stage to what we just come out of and all that stuff. How much do you believe in that stuff about the months and the the star signs? No, because they associate it with certain characteristics.
What sense does it make when we're supposed to have 13 months of 28 days each month? What sense does all their magic and witchcraft mean? Well, like, that's ultimately what it is. It's all witchcraft.
Well, I think it's just...
you think they've tapped into the ether and they figured it all out?
No, I think it's nonsense.
You think it's nonsense?
I think it's... I wonder, because they've just used all human characteristics and they've just cut them up and said this is... But
you're talking about Mystic Meg saying, oh, you're going to get
star
this
signs.
And, yeah.
When they say that this month something's going to happen because of where we are,
right?
And also characteristics.
What about people that are born in August are supposed to be leaders? Like they're a Leo, so their personality is supposed to be. Do you believe that's all nonsense?
Well, I'm supposed to have a split personality.
Gemini,
No, Gemini, yeah. But all this stuff about. But there are people who are born the day after me. I know the guy who was born 3 days after me in the same hospital. And he's completely
different.
He's 100. He can be more different from me. So it's not always. It seems like we all share all those characteristics.
Did you have the BCG?
The injection? Yes.
Did they have the BCG?
The person I grew up with.
The
person was born.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Got to be caping the tabs and all these different sorts of medical interventions that have been.
I remember having the BCG because there was about. We're going off on a tangent now, but there were about. In my year, it was about 90 boys, 100 boys actually, and I think there was only 5 or 6 families who said no, we're not having. Yeah, my son's not having it. But this was all of those things going up from 5, 6 from early days, and they got absolutely. They were, what's the word?
Scalded.
Oh yeah, I mean they were completely. Not so much the children were, but the parents. Oh my gosh, when they collected them for school, it was kind of they were almost left alone,
outsiders
for a bit, and
because
took a number of sort of something else happening, like I don't know, a football match or something. Or a school play or something for them to sort of get back into the fold.
So they've been ostracised by society in the little dynamic of the community in school. They've been ostracised because ultimately they've had their children's best interests at heart. They don't want foreign vaccines or these things put in their children. And as a result of that, the rest of the parents in the school playground have then said, "Whoa, take a step back from them people."
That
happens on a massive scale. That's a problem, isn't it, really?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's bad. I think that sort of stuff's bad.
Because it wouldn't be... Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I'm trying to say that imagine that had been about something else. Imagine that had been about... it could have been about anything, but the fact is it seems to be not just over the last 3 or 4 years. But it seems to be, with what's happened. But what's happened about this has been... this going back to, in the 1980s, the people, it's been going back years. It's been going back to...
Imagine you didn't want to give your kid the injection when all them kids are running around with polio and the rest of it. Imagine what the parents in the playground would have looked at you like then. You didn't give your kid the little sugar cube. So that he didn't give everyone else polio and the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? But this is what I'm saying. This is wrong. Like... Just because the government say we've got a medical intervention that we want to give to your children doesn't then give people carte blanche to be like, well, you're a wrong un then if you're not going to do as daddy government says.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think this is it's ultimately what was at the issue with the COVID pandemic. It was the same behaviour. It was the same mentality that it's like, you're not willing to do this, so you need to be ostracised from society. And it's coming from all levels.
Well, the big thing is, my body, my choice. If you're perforating my skin, put it to me in my injecting something into me.
But it's not for the parents in the school playground when they're looking after their children, when they're getting ostracised. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's a real big societal issue. Like, people should be left to raise their children.
I was saying the same thing. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what could be more? I remember at school going back. Well, I've seen it recently as well. They lure people in. Obviously, they get harassed into having it, and then they lure people into. They use things like
threats.
Well, threats is one thing, absolutely, and then they use that. They bombard people like they've done all the last 3 or 4 years. Overwhelm them, exactly. And then, but what do they use? What's a good way to encourage? What they use for children is, I remember when you'd had that, you get a lolly, you get some orange squash, you get a biscuit, you get some sweets, you get some you get maybe a jam donut. You think this is all right. I get I get a couple of jam donuts, a squash and an iced lolly. But this is it. I mean, this shouldn't be like that, because everyone who doesn't, people who didn't get it, obviously don't get that, and it's very, very sinister, like hill or like ravine we're going down, and it's But then they have that association, I suppose, that this is a good thing, because it has. It's that maybe even people are even, I don't know, sort of nostalgic about it in a way, about having this at school. They look back on it as having, because we all have scars from our BCGs. They all scarred us.
Yeah, right.
And the thing was that, So I mean, I remember vividly having my first big injection, and some people were crying. I remember it very vividly at school.
Do you think the new age?
I'm not
is
nostalgic about it, but I'm just saying that it is one of my big memories. It's one of my locked-in memories that I can't forget.
Do you think the new age is connected to this societal pattern of behaviour, i.e., people wanting to do what's best for their own children and politely declining the intervention that the government's offering them, and then the subsequent behaviour of the other parents on the playground when they're ostracising, shunning the children, the parents that didn't want to go through the procedure? Do you think the new age is connected to that?
I'd say, I think there is a connection from what you were talking about before, but also it's about It's about a new way of thinking, isn't it? It's about a new way of
a new normal.
The new normal. So that's how they get you. They get you by changing your focus, changing your thinking, changing what's acceptable, and bombarding you with things. So
sensory overload.
And you think about yeah, propaganda. And so I think, yeah, there's a massive link, yeah.
Huh. That's jolly good. That's what I think anyway.
No, because new age for me still is like a...
What does it mean to you? You asked me what it means to me.
But
What does it mean to you?
I was a bit confused by that term originally because, but I think it's about sort of shifting people's angle of thinking, you know, into a different. That's for me what it meant. I might be wrong about that, but you know, because it's kind of it's the new age, the new you're pushing people to think in a different way and accept different things.
It's part of the synthesis and you got the how does it go? The dialectic. You have the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis.
Mm.
Yes, you've got the idea, the opposing idea, and then you bring them together and you come up with a synthesis, which is an amalgamation of both of them.
Mm.
And I think this is all part of the process, mate. I think it's all hermeticism.
But you mean? But are you saying that it's deliberate to confuse people?
I believe ultimately the end goal is to mould clay with metal. Yeah, so God made us out of the dirt of the earth and he breathed life into us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then further in the story it goes on to explain about how they will mix that clay, that dirt, with metal. Mm-hmm. And that ultimately, in my mind, is where we're heading with things like the Ministry of Defence's white paper on the augmentation of human reality, and ultimately what do they call it when a man mixes with machine? You turn into a cyborg.
Yeah.
Transhumanism.
Cyborgs, yeah.
Yeah? That's ultimately where I think this is heading. This is what I think they're after, what they're up to. Well,
with AI and stuff.
But it's not just that, it's being connected to the AI, isn't it?
Well, I think things like all these devices that we've, you know...
The cancer causers.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But you see people being so addicted to them, but it's softening people up for the next stage, you know. But it's been a long process and well thought out because they, for example, I've got a very basic phone. I don't really use it too much. But then the next, that was the only thing available 25 years ago was this one. And then you've got all this progression to the computerized phone, and then you've got the next one which does I don't know, every sort of 5-6 months they come out with a new version of it, and it does 5-6 more things, and then you're getting to that stage where
you're lost without it.
Yeah, you're lost without it. And I when you see someone's phone running out of battery, you see
it's like a part of them getting drained.
The part of them is being and they're not connecting with their children, and they're not communicating with them. They're not talking to them.
Right.
It's like
that's a bad thing for society. No,
it's like a child with every time the child screams. I used to think it was awful that, you know, every time the child screamed, they put a dummy in the mouth or something like that. That they wouldn't hold the child and say, "Come on, there," or something, you know, or connect with the child, you know.
Yeah.
Or and all that kind of stuff. But this is like that times a million or something like that, because all the stuff where a very young child, they also have this thing. There's no communication. The only time they communicate is when the device runs out of battery. But this is softening people up, I think, for, you know, all the stuff about, you know, humans not doing things. You know,
if hedonism, sorry to interrupt, but if hedonism wasn't endemic, would we have an issue in society where parents were more interested in their phones than raising their children? If it wasn't a result of hedonism and the new age.
Repeat that question, please. If hedonism wasn't endemic in society, would we be left in a situation where parents are more interested in their phones than raising their children? Do you know? So when you were saying about the children not getting any sort of attention, we see children these days
by and large, being raised by iPads, being raised by iPhones. You see them in the buggy, they're down the road, they got the iPad. They're in the car, they got the iPad. There's a lot of iPad scrolling going on in the children.
Yeah.
Now the question is, if we didn't live in a society that was after instant self-gratification and this hedonistic idea of pleasuring oneself, would we be in a situation whereby children are getting raised by YouTube and iPads if it wasn't down to the new age and that thought process and belief ideology?
Well, yeah, I mean, it goes together with willpower, I think, as well. It's like willpower, how you bring up your child. It's like
but I'm saying as a society, if we weren't such a hedonistic liberal society, do you think? Like, so you're saying it's down to willpower? No,
I'm saying that I think that you're saying would this have happened anyway?
I'm asking, do you think it's plausible that children would be getting raised by iPads and iPhones,
even if they were of age?
If we weren't in a society that was fueled by indulgence in one's own pleasure? So the reason why the children are getting raised by the iPads and the iPhones is because the mothers and the fathers are on the iPad and the iPhone, and they're doing something that's more interesting than raising their own child.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
They bought into that idea.
That is in trying to fulfill this self-pleasure, trying to self-gratification they're trying to achieve. And the child is losing out as a result of it parenting, as you so rightly pointed out earlier on. The question is, if we weren't living in a society around new age ideas, would this still be happening? For instance, in the 50s, do you think with the technology, do you think it would be the same? If we was in the 50s and they had the iPhones, do you think do you think the behaviour of the parents would just say, there you go?
Well, I suppose the drop in standards and all that stuff goes hand in hand with the thing that they're using.
Right.
But I think that I say hedonism or selfishness or whatever plays a massive part in it, because when you have a child, especially, that should be your main concern, main focus.
Yes.
You should
priority.
No matter, so absolutely, and you see, and you should bring them up with values, good values. You see,
Amen.
Manners. So if someone gives you a gift or anything, please and thank you, all the stuff,
yes,
and everything just from day dot, and all that's been lost. But I think that the immediate gratification stuff is a recent thing, and with everything, we want things, we can't get things in everything from the supermarket. We want things all the year through. We can't get out of season. But with everything, it's the me culture of today is greatly affected by. But I'd say yes. I'm saying yes to your question. I think it's.
You think it is down to the hedonism? It is down to the new age, or you're saying yes, it would be the same?
No, because devices with the device is used by. It's not the device's fault. Someone's making the device, but
someone's an inanimate object.
Someone's using that device. So device in the wrong hands, and things going out of control.
So the flies that fly into the light.
It's an attitude.
The flies that fly into the light.
That's why you need to.
As the analogy, work with me.
The flies are flying into the light. Yeah.
Zzz, zap, and it's dead.
Yeah.
Is that the fly's fault?
Well, I mean.
Is it the fly's fault for being too stupid to know the difference? Is it down to levels of intelligence?
A fly isn't a human, but a fly is. You're talking about the zapper that kills them.
No. I'm talking about the bright lights that engages them, that catches their attention, that lures them in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it the fly's fault for being lured by the bright light and the interesting stuff that's going on over there, or is it the maker of the device that's killing the flies?
Well, it's a bit of both. I mean, the devices aren't. What is your phone? You've got a smartphone. What is it meant to do?
Well, like you said, it's all very long-winded and premeditated and thought out for many, many years.
So,
it started with one like that, and then progression, and now we've got this.
Yeah, so it started on the landline, and it goes on to this basic phone. But the device isn't necessarily a bad thing if it's used in the.
But what was its intentions? What was the reason it was created?
It's supposedly. Convenience, supposedly to
convenience kills. Convenience enables laziness.
Yeah. But it's supposed to connect people more easily.
Connect what?
Well, it's supposed to
connect abusers to the abused.
Well, it's supposed to.
Well, no, really.
But it goes from a speaking to someone. For example, this is a thing, a good thing to, because it went from you had a telephone you. Run from letters to a telephone. Okay,
yes.
So the telephone, you had to pick up and speak to somebody.
Right.
So that was a sort of
now you can just ignore everyone.
Now, when text messaging came in, that was a sort of, for me, a slightly, I don't know. It's easy because you don't need to speak to them, but it's also
harder because you can't sense the tone.
But you can't sense the tone. It's also a cop out. You know, you got to sit
lazy.
It's also a bit. It can be full of a cowardly thing. If you've got to say something really difficult to someone,
you can't text them, can you?
You have to pick up the phone or speak to them. But now you can just send them a text message.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And then you can just delete it. But the thing was that. It's been going on for. It's a long time thought out, all these things, and it's.
What do you? The question I asked you, Alex. Sorry. Hang on.
Yeah.
The question I asked you was, what was the intentions behind the creation of the device? Not so much the telegraph, the wired telephone. I'm talking about this device here, the one that all singing, all dancing, does it all. Yeah. What was the intention behind the creation of this device?
I think I didn't make it, but I think the intention behind that device is so that every movement, everything can be tracked. So that phone, it's a computer essentially. Isn't it? You sort of log in, and so they know more and more about every individual.
Right.
And
data harvesting.
Data harvesting.
Right.
So they know about you, about me, about everybody, so they can.
But what else happens as a result of data harvesting? In order for them to harvest your data, you have to input the data. You have to spend the time scrolling. Yeah. So I believe that not only I very well put, it is about data harvesting, 100%. But I also believe fundamentally it is about time wasting as well.
Yeah, distracting you. Distracting you.
Exactly.
But these things, sport's another big one for me. Big distraction.
Bread and circus.
Yeah, and so it literally wears the people playing it out. They're worn out, and all the fans have lost all their energy by chanting or bickering or whatever it is, or just investing their time in that in that stressful thing. And one game finishes, they look forward to another game. That's another distraction. But the attention span, I think, is supposed to restrict or reduce people's attention spans. So you see people flicking through quick things like TikTok, and all those things, or
it's the dopamine,
Instagram. They're flicking through,
instant,
and they flick through that until
they see one.
They see one, and they tick it, and they go through another one. It's a dopamine rush, exactly. Yeah. It's a quick. It's like a child eating sweets. They want another sweet, and then they're sick, and then the next day they want exactly what they had yesterday, but they want more. So they want, instead of having 15.
Really interesting.
Multicolored sweets. They want 25.
So the children are getting ill from eating too many sweets.
But adults aren't growing up. People are not growing up.
Are the adults getting ill from doing too much scrolling?
Oh, they certainly are, because they're frying their brains.
They are.
They're frying their brains. Their brains aren't developing, and they're not learning anything from these things. You don't learn anything from all these 15-minute second videos on TikTok. They're just garbage. They're just rubbish. They're designed to
for you in one ear and out the other.
And what was your question? It was, is the device or the person using it, who is at fault?
No, I'm saying, well, we've gone on a tangent since then. Yeah, but that was, that was a few questions ago, that was,
No, but I mean, do you find the convenience is obviously true of that device? If you get lost and I get lost, you can find your way quicker to where you need to be, for example. That's one. You have all the things on it, maps.
When I was 12 years old, I used to be able to read an audience survey, Matt.
Yeah, I had to do it at school. They made me do the ordnance edit in geography, and then they made me do Duke of Edinburgh. Right. So they just dropped me at a location. Obviously, they'd pick you. They'd go searching for you if you got lost. Yeah, they'd drop you in a place
and make you try and find your way back to the train station.
And also Wednesday afternoons, I did sort of junior. It's like a military service, and they did the same thing. But this was on the weekend. They would drop you, and this was much more severe. They'd drop you, and you'd have a map, and you'd have a compass, and you'd be sometimes with somebody else. But they'd go looking for you after a while.
Do you feel like you could competently read a map now?
Well, I was in the car with someone. No is the answer. Quick answer to your question.
No.
Much less than I used to be able to. Right. I was reading probably the simplest thing that you could do, which is the A to Z. And I just needed to help someone who was driving me about 5 miles down the road, and I missed the turning. It was a bit more complex than that. But anyway, and he gave me an earful, rightfully so, because we had to go all the way back and then
all the one-way streets and that
kind of thing. Yeah. But the thing about it is that all these skills are being lost, and all the brain function, the brain capacity, the brain usage is just being so lost and altered. You know, we're so it's like children. Everyone's a child now. I think that's people aren't growing up. People aren't. How many times do you see great works of literature taken out of the library? But how many times, and how many? You can pick one up and you find dust on those books, or you open it and moths will come out of it. But if you go to a new phone's coming out, the iPhone store in Regent Street, how many people are outside there?
There'd be a queue.
Thousands.
Yeah, right.
So, well, I mean, the last phone is what I'm trying to say does almost that. My point also is that one does almost the same thing, but the next one will do something a little bit different. But a phone is meant for calling someone. You can still do all the stuff on there. We just have some little bit more on it. So it's a kind of showing off sometimes with these things.
Oh, you mean like a car?
Yeah, it's like a
status
symbol, because people have those ones encrusted with diamonds sometimes. You know, in America and Hong Kong, and you see the girls with the diamond encrusted.
Yeah, right.
And all that kind of stuff. It's a status symbol. It's like someone wearing a Cartier watch or something like that, or having a Savile Row suit. But I mean, some things are nice, like a Savile Row suit is nice, but a nicely cut suit is nice. But there's some things which people flash them for. They don't, they do it to say, look what I have. And at the end of the day, it's just
pride is a sin.
It's a
sin. Should we get on to sin? The topic of sin. Yeah. How do you feel? Are you a God-fearing man, Alexander?
Well, I went to a very religious school, the second one particularly. But
you went to a Catholic school?
I went to a Church of England school.
You went to a C of E school?
Yeah, I went to a C of E school.
I don't think there's much religious in a C of E school these days. But it's all right. What was your...
I switched off because every Sunday we needed to go to... They sent me away to school.
I was going to say, so you bored? You went to...
13 to 18 I was boarding.
Oh.
Till 11 I was at day school in London. But they sent me to this. No, actually, 11 to 13 I was weekly boarding. But I needed to go to church on Sunday, every Sunday. And the guy who gave the sermon was the RE teacher.
Right.
I can't remember his name. I can, but I'm not going to say it. But he was not a very pleasant person.
Oh, stop.
So no. But just he was. His sermons were sort of
Fire and
about.
brimstone.
No, he used them as a sort of.
Trying to lure young boys into the bedroom.
No, he used it as a sort of all about him thing, not about issues. So it was about, he brought everything. It was a sort of. So when he started speaking, everyone just. Most people just switched off.
Was there any buggering going on?
No.
No buggering?
No.
Right.
No. But there was, you were supposed to go to that person in confidence, and I heard a couple of stories about people going in confidence, to say things, and him telling somebody else about something. Because the people of the
Cloth
are supposed to be, you can confide in them absolutely, to when you say something to them.
This is the problem with religion.
But I went to a very strict religious school, and I.
What's your relationship with God like now as a result of your schooling?
Well, confused, I think.
Confused.
Because I
You had it rammed down your throat.
I suppose there's two. Yeah, I suppose I had it rammed down my throat, and then it was when that happens, you often go the other way and reject it. Or I remember there was a service on Friday evenings. It was such a long time ago, which is a reflective service, which was an evening service, Eucharist, in the evening. That was a nice one where you could sit and reflect on how things had gone, all with candles. And it was just. But I had a small window where I thought I was going to church on after I'd left school. So I was going, I'd get up and put on smartish clothes, go to church on a Sunday morning, and sometimes with my father and things like that. But my relationship is one of great confusion, I think.
Great confusion.
Because I'm not committed. I did sort of, my mind's been, I sort of have been dipping in and out of it.
Do you not observe beautiful things and put it down to the majestic divinity of the Lord and understand that everything has a creator? Do you struggle with your confusion? Is it like you're not sure if there is a God, or you are sure there is a God, but you don't know what God it is? Or what sort of confusion do you have?
No, well, I was. It was after school. I was probably a couple of years old. After school, I was when I was anyway a long time ago. I was starting to. I was starting to read passages of the Bible, which and I was reading, and then I sort of felt connected to what I'd been taught for a while, and then I got smacked with all this. But I think it was another deliberate thing. Smacked with all this atheism stuff, which came from.
Where from?
No, but it was about, I don't know, about 15 years ago. It was
after you come out of school.
It was all the. It was again wrapped up in fashion. You had sort of Richard Dawkins. You had Stephen Fry. But it was. It sort of came as a new
age.
Yeah, but it was a fashionable thing, and I still think it is fashionable.
It is
to be an atheist.
Yes.
is fashionable. And so it was just, and I ended up buying. I haven't read it cover to cover, but I bought. I was sort of taken up, not completely, but I said, oh, okay, I want to sort of listen to what they're speaking about, and so I bought The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins,
right,
and I read some other articles. I started reading sort of little pamphlets and articles and stuff like that, and then I just I was in a confused stage because.
So you read books.
So my
you read
faith,
some books.
My faith was, I suppose, was developing, and then after school, and then I was just bombarded with all this stuff. Like everybody was, and I'd say all that stuff is wrapped up in. It's still around now, but it was a point. I think it was about 15 years ago. It was really Richard Dawkins was always in the news, and Stephen Fry was a famous atheist. Ricky Gervais is a famous atheist. They were all speaking. There was a couple of others, but very, very famous people, and very well educated.
You notice
people.
they're mostly gay.
Well, or without children.
Well, when I say gay, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
I mean like. In later life, not married, no children. That to me is gay.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of.
No offense, Steve.
There's plenty of. No, you're right. I mean,
sorry.
No, but all those. I think all those three aren't they? They are without children. I don't know about Richard Dawkins, but
right. So these people that are trying to sell and shield these ideas are full of sin. So that's probably not a good person to take your advice off, is it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What you mean without a family?
I mean, hypothetically speaking, to a younger version of yourself, obviously it's a bit late trying to give you this advice.
No, but you're saying they don't have.
I'm saying they have moral. They have issues with scruples. They have issues with sin. And knowing we're in a... Right, so this is back to the original question, are you a God-fearing man? Do you believe, over the past 4 years of what we have been subjected to, do you believe that we are in some sort of spiritual warfare, spiritual battle? What do you think? Do you think that's far-fetched?
No, I'd say that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
It's pretty accurate,
yeah. I'd say certainly, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, does that not help you with your faith and your grounding in your belief when poised with things like, do you believe in God? Are you a God-fearing man? Does it not help to see like the battle in front of you to go, well, there must be a Lord and Saviour?
Well, I'd say this. I mean, after all this tyranny that's happened in the last 4 years, I sat in a church, and a few churches were open. I just sat and reflected. And one of the things I could think about, the only thing I could think about was, these people who have put us through this hell. They deserve hell. That's what I thought. So I sat in, but I was reflecting on my own life as well. But I kept going back to this thing about, I was so affected by what had been happening. And when you sit in an empty church, it's a great place of reflection, because it's just, and I that's what I was feeling. So I was feeling those about all the world leaders and people like that who put us through this nightmare, that they deserved, because they never face it on they very rarely face it on earth. So I thought that there was, maybe that's something about, but that's a I suppose it's a negative thing I was thinking, but it was, I think, a necessary thing I was thinking, because people need to have some sort of a judgment for their behaviour.
Well, they will.
But they rarely get it, Very few people right at the top get justice. Or
served justice.
Served justice. So there needs to be... Does that not go some way to is that not observable then, that in a just world, if there wasn't evil and there wasn't a battle between good and evil, justice would prevail? Do you know, in a just world, if there was
but obviously there is evil at work, so justice doesn't prevail, and we see that money then enables people to get away with murder, basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely, corruption.
Right.
Yeah.
So does that not go some way as well to say there is God working for the good of your soul?
Why? Because you mean is this being revealed? Or?
I'm asking as someone who struggles with faith. So are these things that I'm observing? Because these are all things to me that I observe, and then I go, well, I say, well, blimey, it's pretty irrefutable. Like in my head, I was raised a Christian. I went to Sunday school. I went to Sunday school last time I went to Sunday school I was about 8 years old, 9 years old, something like that. I didn't really go to church as a teenager. I didn't really go in my 20s. I've only started walking with the Lord again since I was about 30. Right? Now,
can I ask you a question here? Sorry.
Go on. I was on a train then, but
no,
it's
go
gone now. No, it's gone now. Go on.
Sorry.
I've done it now.
Sorry. I just wondered if I can ask whether that was because was that because you've got children, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah. So was that after that point where you?
What, when I started walking with the Lord again?
No, I mean, yeah. Was that something?
Was that the reason why?
Was that one of the reasons?
You make me sound like such a terrible bastard. No, I was young when I had my son, so I was young and foolish. And I carried on being pretty fucking foolish for a while, mate. To be completely honest with you, and it's not my proudest thing to have to sit here and say, but it's the truth. So there you have it.
No, I just wondered because.
It should have been. It would be enough for most people, Alex, but not me. No.
No, because you feel like there was there are many people who.
I was very fleshy before I was of the world, mate. I was running around doing all sorts of stuff that was against God's will, was against my better nature and judgment, and I was out there doing it for whatever reason. But that was me, and then it took for me to just go through some shit, basically, excuse my French, to then realise what life was all about. It took me to not be able to see my son, to not be able to see my family, to not be able to speak to anyone, and all that sort of stuff, for me to really think, well, that was a quick 10 years from my 20s to my 30s. Like, I ain't really got long here on this earth. I need to sort of come a bit better and walk in tandem with the Lord, doing things the right way, because you don't get any sort of sense of worth or any sense of like any value from life if you're not servicing others. Ultimately, that's what I think it's all about. I've been in a situation where I've bought everything for myself, and I've all my wants and all my needs, and that you don't, and like I've had a few quid, like, do you know what I mean? And that's not how you attain happiness. And like, I don't want to sound like the hedonists of today, where that's what I'm looking for, because obviously we do want to be happy, but it is more to our being than just our own sense of happiness, I think. Any follow-up questions about my personal life?
No,
Alex?
I just wondered if that was that. That was a sort of a question I thought I could ask, but I don't know you. I didn't know you very well, so I didn't really.
Go on, ask me a question then.
I didn't really want to ask you. I was wondering whether you attend church now.
I do attend church now.
Yeah, and it's like do you go every week?
I try to.
Is that by yourself, or do you go with your family?
I go with my family.
Yeah. So I mean, and when you go to is it well attended, or is it?
It varies. Some days it's busy. Some days we're the only people there.
Yeah. No, I just wondered because It's
Christmas Eve was pretty
yeah.
empty, which is a shame. But
You went to the service in the evening, did you?
Where it was in the evening.
Yeah.
I didn't see in Christmas Day, if that's what you're asking. I didn't attend mass.
But this goes back to, I suppose, what you're saying. But you were saying before that I think you were saying that that good always eventually trumps evil. You know, was that what you were saying? Eventually,
basically,
at some even if it's, and then also you were speaking about something good coming out of something bad. You know, eventually, and that's what I was thinking. Similarly with my life, different scenarios, but sort of after, I don't know, years of doing not very much or keep making the same mistakes, you eventually say, right, enough of this. But it was something which was the last, what happened a few years ago here, and I met lots of great people, and I felt this good energy. You know, that's something which was so out of that goes back to your point about, or the point you're making about goodness winning, or good energy.
There was an eclectic mix of those people that you met in the last 4 years, and now I found generalising they were either Christians, believers, or they were New Age hippies, mate. There weren't many in betweeners. There was either God fearing people or spiritual kundalinis, mate. Right? That's an issue. I'm not saying everyone needs to be a Christian, although if you do want to like eternal life and salvation, it would be a good idea. Do you know?
So you think there was on the protest,
the marches, they were all New Age hippies or Christians?
Well, there were a lot of New Age hippies, yeah.
Or Christians.
There was a lot of prayers being said as well, and
this is what I said. There was a lot of New Age
I know,
Christians.
But yeah.
That's all I see there, mate. Yeah. That's all I see. There ain't sort of. How do you explain it? So.
No, I was trying to say another thing was that, just very briefly, the great thing about those protests, it wasn't. It was. But it was a great cross. Everyone was there from every. I'm saying people there from every walk of life, and there were many people of faith, and there were people saying prayers. I remember there was a massive Sikh contingent, for example. And great people coming down a long way with great banners. But there was always. In the mainstream media, they write these ludicrous headlines about us, saying like, I don't know, thugs or lunatics or hoodlums or all this stuff,
metal basher,
or all this nonsense. And it's actually probably the calmest protests I've ever been on from our side marching. There was. The violence was all from the police authorities.
Yeah, right.
So
generally,
there was a great feeling of just goodness or something like that. There was a great feeling of, and it did feel, I don't know whether spiritual is the right word, but it felt
empowering.
Really empowering. It did feel those big marches were wonderful occasions.
First one in September was all right, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I felt that was. I was just saying about your point about good and evil, just what happened recently, and just the feeling, and just not here but around the world.
So you do believe that we're in a spiritual battle?
Yes.
So what does that mean if you're struggling with your faith?
Well,
what does that mean?
I mean, like I say, these last few years, I was sitting in churches, I was reflecting, and I was brought back to, even when I was actually given a community order, and we were sweeping and working in a church.
Oh, right.
And so that was we were sweeping by a church, and I was.
Do you not think that's the Lord working?
Helping in a church. So we were hoovering up, sweeping in the church.
Do you think that's happened by chance?
Moving firewood.
You think that happened by chance, or do you believe there was a bit of divine intervention there?
I think there's karma and divine intervention. Both.
Karma.
I think
see, karma is a force, New Age from the East.
There have been, I think that there have been certain situations, where I'm saying it very loosely, lightly, I suppose. But I'm saying, when it goes back to, someone getting something that they deserve. Either way, So
judgment.
Or you get you
get judged.
You get judged, but
and if you get good, you go to heaven.
Yeah, but even here, sometimes something happens where you think, okay, I can accept that because I've been a
naughty boy,
piece of, and then something.
Like if you get a fat fucker after eating all the pizza, it's like, well, I've got to live with that now.
But that's one example, and then you get a. It's like you also you get out of something what you put into it.
Entirely.
You reap what you sow.
100%.
So you get and
unless a spider mite's coming.
I'm bad at. I have been bad until quite recently at sort of putting things off.
Procrastination.
Yeah. So I'd say I tell you what.
I'll do it later.
I've done half of it today, but I'll do it tomorrow. I say I've got this this little bit to write here, but you know what? I might do it tomorrow.
I'm awful with that as well.
Also, I'm always bad at being late.